Yeah, do your thing.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to Now Available, the internet's only streaming service podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm one of your hosts, Adam Howard, and with me, as always, is Rikki Ettinger. How are you doing, Rikki?
Hello, everybody.
And our first ever guest, I am so excited to introduce to the Now Available listeners. This is kind of like, I'm getting to the point of announcing it, and I'm kind of freaking out, but it's okay. So, joining Now Available, Nick Scarpino, the producer / seducer. Welcome.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me.
Woo, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah.
I always get that thing whenever I have a guest on our podcast, if I'm hosting, I'm totally fine, but then I get to where I have to say the person's name and I start freaking out and my brain goes blank. And it happens every time I host podcasts, and it especially happens when I'm hosting comedy shows, where I'll be like, the person's name is just John Smith. And I'm like, I'm just like, I can't get the word. I have to like visualize how it's spelled. So I have to look at people's names before. Anyway, happy to be here.
Yeah, that's exactly what I just went through, where I was like,
terror.
Where I'd been like rehearsing it in my mind. And then I'm like,
because the worst thing you don't want to do, you don't want to speed through it and then mispronounce the person's name. And then you have to be like, oh, I know your name. I invited you to be on this podcast, but I called you Rick Arino or something weird like that. Here's my question for Rikki before we get on the topic of movies. Do people give you the Jon Snow shit a lot? Like, do people say you look a lot like Jon, like you know nothing Jon Snow? Is that how Adam talks to you a lot? Am I allowed to swear on this? Sorry.
Oh yeah, you can swear. No, I haven't got that one in a while.
Because you look like a cooler, like hipster version of Jon Snow. Like you do know something, Jon Snow. Like I know you know something about weed and craft coffee.
You're not far off, honestly. Hold on, let me put on my Nick. I brought this hat out because you have an orange hat.
There it is. I love it. I have an orange and a yellow, and I love them both. And I need a new one because I've had too many pictures taken of me, and then now people start making fun of me.
That's how I felt about this one. Because I've had this for a bunch of years, so it's like filthy. Like it's disgusting.
You can wash them, but you know what's funny is I washed mine and it shrank, and now I don't like it as much. So I refuse to wash my orange one because I like it to look like a little condom tip at the top, like I'm promoting safe sex while I'm out there, talking about my jokes or whatever.
Or whatever.
Whatever.
So did you ever have to take like a razor blade to get all the like the runs off of it, or what are these things? It's like pills or something. Pills,
yeah. They actually have a depiller. There's a tool you can buy called the depiller that'll actually. It's kind of like you run it over that, but no, because at the end of the day, I will wear something until it's like falling off me, and then there's something you can do that will reinvigorate your wardrobe. It's called Get Married. And your wife will just go, nope. And she'll just take that and be like, we're done with this. And you just have to let go. And it's part of the fun of having a partner that you trust. She just goes, it's time to let that go. And it's fun.
So that's what I get to look forward to then.
I recommend it. It's really nice because at its best, when you're married, you have a partner that compliments you and can be like, and can step in where you are, where you need, and so my wife will always be like, I think that this is cute now, but like after a year or two, she's like, you've worn those same shoes for 2 years straight. It's time to just let them go. It's nice. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I'm engaged, so now that you're saying that stuff, I'm like now noticing it, like as you're saying it, it's giving me the epiphany that I'm like, that did happen with my shoes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's funny because as I mean, it's not necessarily a guy thing. I think it's a single person thing. But I do think that a lot of my observations have been that guys, for the most part, are the ones that like, you get comfortable in what you got. You don't necessarily want to go shopping. You don't necessarily want to do these things. Maybe it's not our thing. And when you have someone else in your life that's witnessing your life and they're seeing you see yourself through their eyes and you're like, oh man, I got to get rid of these jeans. These are some schlubby. I've had these jeans since college, and trends have changed. You're no longer wearing baggy jeans. People aren't wearing boot cuts anymore. Maybe it's coming back. I don't know. Actually, I think they are coming back, but I digress. It's fun, and congratulations on your upcoming nuptials.
Thank you.
I love it. I think it's a fun thing to be married, and I think you're going to enjoy it. Your wife's okay with you having all those figurines in the background?
Yes, actually, surprisingly, yes.
Cool. Because
those are the first things that are going. All those toys, get them out of here.
Well, it's funny because obviously, like joking around, obviously, right? Like you get married to someone, and the old joke is like, oh, your wife's going to make you throw all your toys away. But like we're obviously living in a generation where all of those things were like the kids who played with those are now adults. We are those people, and my wife respects the hell out of that. Although in this room, I was going to put a Batman figurine, like a little Funko Pop, right on that bookshelf, and I got the veto on that one. I got the hard pass on it, and it was okay. It wasn't so much a verbal thing; it was a look, and I'm like, I'm going to back away from the bear slowly. The bear is not happy.
Yeah, this is actually me and my fiance's apartment. We have a 2-bedroom, so this is like kind of our studio because she does. Well, this is actually both our studio because she does like podcasting stuff too, and like that's what she went to school for. So we both kind of work in here, and this is just kind of where most of it got put because. She's like, we aren't going to have all that stuff out in the living room. It's kind of just off to the side and in the back. But I
think it's good to have those boundaries and to be able to share spaces or have your own little space too. I think that's important.
For sure, I have to agree with that.
Yeah, Rikki, you got a dope space too. You look like you're on the upper level of your place, and you're just totally dialed in.
Yeah, I got lucky with this room. It's like angled.
It's perfect. It's cool.
Yes, it's really neat. I put a lot of thought and effort into it.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate
like how I wanted everything to look, because my old room was an absolute mess and it was like so cramped. I have way too much shit. Like you can see all my like sneakers, or like there's only some of them. Like I didn't have enough room for them all.
So would you consider yourself a sneaker head?
Yeah, a little bit. I also work at a leather boot factory. Like I make leather boots.
Interesting. You make leather boots?
Mm-hmm. Like I do like stitching and stuff. Yeah.
No, I knew he was a hipster. I saw the glasses and I was like, he does one of two things in his spare time. He either throws axes or makes leather boots. And that's it. That's the thing people do in Austin. The hipsters in Austin go like, let's go axes. They have bars where you get drunk and throw axes. And I'm like, this doesn't sound like those two things should go together. Alcohol and axe throwing, but they do. No. It's Austin. There's no rules in Texas. If you want to go truly to a place that has absolutely no rules and no state income tax, go to Texas.
Okay. I'll check it out.
Yeah, I read Matthew McConaughey's biography, and he talks about how like his family lived next to a lumber yard, and he'd go and just steal pieces of wood, and ended up building like this massive like couple-story tall tree house and everything, and like nobody noticed. He just kind of did it.
They don't care. It doesn't matter. It's Texas. How was that? That's an interesting read. Maybe I'll read that. I love reading people's biographies, specifically like creators, directors. The last one I read was an RIP, but I read Richard Donner's biography, which the book itself was not very well written. I think it was kind of one-sided, where it painted Donner as this like godlike figure who everyone loved. And I'm sure that's not necessarily the case. But you have a 3 or 4 or 5 decade career in filmmaking, someone's going to be pissed off at you. But it kind of went into all of his issues he had with making Superman and all this backstabbing there a little bit. But it's so inspirational to read about how he created those and like his approach to storytelling and why he could make these ridiculously outlandish action pictures like Lethal Weapon, but still have there be some realism in there and still have you care about the characters. And he just had some very core tenets that I thought were really cool. But that's why I love reading about that stuff, because it inspires me to sit here and play Warzone.
That's what's up.
Yeah,
it's fun. Cool.
Nick, so I gotta tell you how I got into this whole thing.
Okay, give it to me.
All right. So go back to the year, I think it's like 2018. This was the first time I went to E3.
Okay.
And I got to meet you guys there. Cool. And like being in that whole thing, like being in that environment and stuff is like, oh, this is so cool. Like I want to be like a journalist or something like in this field. So I come back home, I sign up, and I like start taking classes at my local community college. And that's where I meet Adam, right? Mm-hmm. And we immediately bond because he's wearing a Kind of Funny shirt. And I'm like, I walk in, I'm like, dude, that's a sick shirt. And then like we've been friends since then.
That's awesome.
And it's been a wild ride, like to see how Adam too has like grown as like, because I'm way older than him, like so just to see him go through all the steps of like, I don't know, growing up is like crazy. I would have never had that had I not found you guys and not gone to E3. That whole thing got like the snowball rolling.
That's good to hear, man. And that's kind of like, that's what's cool is just where you find inspiration for things like that. And then you kind of get on the right path and you meet people that become sort of almost your family. And they want to create and they want to do cool stuff with you. That's part. It's like that. Honestly, the best part of my job is to that what you just described. I had that situation happen to me when I came to IGN and found people that were kind of like-minded, and when we were all able to put that stuff together. So yeah, that's really cool to hear. Thank you for that.
Yeah, dude. So thanks you guys for that.
Yeah,
our pleasure.
Yeah, because I've been listening since you were on Smodcast. Probably was the first time I listened to you guys. So long
did you actually hear us through Smodcast?
Yep, that's actually how I found you guys. Because it's kind of weird because I started with Comic Book Men, like Kevin Smith's AMC show, and then started going to like Fat Man on Batman as one podcast, and then to Smodcast, and that's how I found you guys. And at the point, like, because that was back in 2014, right?
Yeah, that would have been around that, probably 2014. Yeah,
I probably shouldn't have been listening to that, considering I was at that point I was like 14.
Bro, I mean, I saw all of his movies when I was 14, so it doesn't matter. I watched Chasing Amy and Mallrats and all those things when they came out in like theaters and or straight to whatever they came out with. So, I mean, I feel like people don't, especially now, they just don't trust that kids are able to deal with stuff like that, like material like that. And I mean, I grew up in the 80s when my mom would sit me in front of the TV and be like, "Go watch whatever you want," and I would immediately pop in RoboCop. And she would just like, whatever, he's going to figure it out. And you turn out okay. I think it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's a joke. Smodcast is just kind of a joke podcast. I was actually bummed when we did his podcast though, because I was hoping to meet Mosier, but
right.
They're all too busy. And Kevin Smith used to do like 40 podcasts, but he'd do like all of them so irregularly that you wouldn't even know what you're getting. So, but you want to talk about a day that I think back to and doesn't seem real. It's the day that we knocked on Kevin Smith's door and he opened it and he's like, "Come on in, guys." And I'm like, what is this life? And we sat in his office with just rows of his scripts to the right of us. And like, I'll never forget, Colin like pulled out the script for like one of his original shooting scripts for, I think it was Clerks or Mallrats. I think it was Mallrats. And he was just like, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Just go with it."
Yeah.
I'm like, we kind of looked at each other, all of us, and we were like, we'll just freak out later. Now we'll just kind of, if Mr. Smith asks us questions, you talk, but don't talk too much. And then it's one of those situations where you're like, you become very aware of your hands, what your hands are doing, where you're like, you're so trying to stay in the moment, but then all of a sudden you see yourself and you're like, why are my hands articulate? It's too much. Then you overcompensate and you just hold your hands like this, like to yourself 10 and 2. I don't know. It's, that was really, really fun. And then I was like, oh my God, we're going to be best friends with Kevin Smith forever. And I think Greg still keeps in contact with him, but it turns out the man's very busy. Very, very busy man.
Super busy.
Yeah. Has a heart attack, decides he wants to make movies again, that sort of thing.
And he's making them. He is making them. And I'm excited for him. I'm excited for whenever Moose Jaws is going to come out.
Yeah, there's that one. Clerks 3. There was a Mallrats series kicking around at some point somewhere. But
he did. What did he do recently? He did. Well, Clerks 3 is supposed to come. Mallrats was supposed to be a TV series for a bit, and then that kind of fizzled. But he did. I'm trying to think of the movies that came out. He did that one with Harley Quinn and Johnny Depp's daughter.
Yoga Hosers.
Yeah, Yoga Hosers. That was interesting. That was an interesting one. And then he did the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, which I actually enjoyed. I like that a lot.
Yeah. I actually just watched that last night, funny enough.
I thought that had a lot of heart to it. I think he was able to sort of find a voice again, because I think a lot of the movies that he made, like Tusk and those things, were just kind of goofs to see if he could do it. And I think that Kevin Smith's best when he's focusing on sort of a message that he wants to deliver through some of his zany ass characters. And I think Jay and Silent Bob reboot was very poignant at the end there, especially with Affleck coming in and them talking about, their kids taking over their stories and stuff like that. That hit home for me. That was really nice.
Have you been to the Quick Stop in New Jersey?
No, I know Greg has. I don't make it to the East Coast that much, but I know it's cool that it's still there, and I have to imagine that place just occasionally gets swamped by Kevin Smith's fans. So what a cool, like, just such a cool thing that he did. When you start thinking about like being a filmmaker, like I became a filmmaker and I made some short films that weren't very good, and that experience was so incredibly fun for me. But to actually go forward and make your first film and then have it be Clerks is just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous,
It's insane.
I just recently went back and watched it Cop Out because I'm like,
oh my
I want to see
God.
if this movie's as bad as I remember it being. And it is. It is like everyone's in a movie and then Bruce Willis is there too. And you're like, wow, he really tanked this movie. He is just every scene it's like a stubborn child just chose not to have fun. Meanwhile, Tracy Morgan has some of the funniest lines he's ever had in any movies in that movie. It's just he's throwing them against a brick wall every time he acts opposite of Bruce Willis. And it's so sad. I almost want Kevin Smith to go back with his original script or with the original script of that film and remake Cop Out without Bruce Willis. Just cast everyone, get Sean William Scott back, get Tracy Morgan back, and then just plug in like Will Ferrell instead of Bruce Willis, because that would have made that movie. I mean, it's all. Sorry to go off on a tangent here, but like I get the vibe of what they were going for. It's let's get together, let's have fun, let's improvise. And so you've got Tracy Morgan, who might be one of the all-time greatest like improv artists on camera. And then Bruce Willis just couldn't hang. So it's just sad that he was like stonewalling everyone the entire time. Because if that had been an actor like Will Ferrell, who could have played the straight man to Tracy Morgan's like zaniness, we could have had gold. It could have been genius, but alas, it was not.
It would have been like the other guys.
It would have been the other guys. It would have been exactly the other guys. In fact, I think that they talked about having. I think I've read something there where Mark Wahlberg was potentially up for the role of that Bruce Willis role, which I think Mark Wahlberg is one of those guys that I give a lot of shit to, only because I want him to realize that he is a comedic actor in a tough guy action star's body. It's the same with John Hamm. Every single time I see John Hamm in a serious role, I'm like, this is not you, John Hamm. You're a comic. You're a comedic actor who has comedic chops and you're zany and goofy, but you're just too freaking good looking for your own good. So you need to realize that like Mark Wahlberg is legitimately hilarious when he wants to be. And I just don't buy him as the action star because he's not that, he doesn't have it, he doesn't have that level of charisma for me. Like he is like Bruce Willis was a great action star because he exudes that cocky dick attitude. Whereas Wahlberg, I'm just like, dude, just do some comedies. Just do comedies. Why do you got to be Transformers running around with a CG gun in your hand? I don't know. It's like The Rock. I think The Rock's a lot better in like those. I think he's settled into that sort of like comedic action-y groove with things like Jungle Book or not Jungle Book, the upcoming Jungle Cruise and like what was the one he did? Jumanji. Those I'm like, that's perfect, Rock. You don't need to act tough, because when The Rock and Vin Diesel act tough, they just look like they have a load in their pants that someone has to come change their diapers. They're not good actors, but they're fun to watch. So just be in fun movies. Don't try to do something serious.
Dude, The Rock's perfect. Like, I just watched all of the Fast and the Furious leading up to the 9th one. And like to see him, he starts off as like the big badass dude. But then by the time you get to Hobbs and Shaw, he's just having fun with it. And you can see that. It's perfect.
Statham's one of those. Statham is a perfect guy that figured it out. So Statham is somebody figured out along the way that Statham's actually, sorry, let me back up. Statham started as more of a comedic, silly actor when he did like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and like Snatch and all these movies. So, like working with Guy Ritchie, I think he came up as like, oh, I'm going to be a silly, like a character actor. And then somebody along the way saw him with his shirt off and was like, what the literal fuck is going on with those abs? And then he became an action star. But I think he's another one of those guys that has that versatility, but I highly prefer when he's doing something like Spy or a more silly, fun Guy Ritchie indie style movie, as opposed to these Transporter style like action movies that are like straight to DVD, straight to streaming. Like he's got that new one out that I'm like, what are you doing with this? What? You're not, I don't know. I can't take you seriously anymore. You've acted opposite Melissa McCarthy and you were like the idiot. Like this is just be that. It's fun. I don't know. I guess that's maybe me projecting, because if I could be in that role where people just hired me to be the goofball in movies, I'd be like, this is my life. I'm never going to stray from this. I don't care.
Yeah, imagine you get cast and they're like, listen, we need you to put on 50 pounds of muscle and just be absolutely jacked, and you get to be the funny guy in the movie.
Oh, I mean, my goal in life is to I have two like bucket list items that I want. One, be on the cover of Time magazine with the cool little like ring lights in your eyes where you're staring directly at the camera. Love it. And two, I want Disney to pay me to get jacked out and be like the Kumail Nanjiani in a movie, but then also don't read any of my social media because they will for sure read that and be like, we had to let Nick go. Like, don't listen to any podcast. Disney, if you're watching, don't listen to any podcasts I've been on. Don't watch any videos that I've been on. Don't watch any streams that I've been on. Please don't do your due diligence because you will. I'm not Disney worthy. I'm not ever going to be in a Marvel movie, sadly.
If you were, though, who would you be? Who would you want to be?
Oh, I would. Just a side character. Because here's the thing: like, whoever's going to step into the next Wolverine that's going to be a tough role. We're getting to that point where now they're having to either recast these characters or the next generation of them. So like, you can't have Tony Stark anymore. Robert Downey Jr. is like, you can't ever have another Tony Stark. We just can't do that. And I wouldn't take that role even if they wanted to. And I feel bad for like whoever is going to pick up the moniker of, I don't know if they're going to recast Black Panther, but like, you can't step into Chadwick Boseman's shoes, especially since he passed away. And you can't do that stuff. So I think just seeing what they've done with franchises like Star Wars, where fans just got so polarized so fast, and now it's like nobody, like if you're an A-list celebrity, I wouldn't touch Star Wars with a fucking 10-foot pole. It's just like people are you're damned if you do, damned if you don't for a lot of these things. So if someone was like, hey, we want you to be in a Marvel movie, I would want some dumbass no-name character to make my own and have like one banger scene and just get in and be silly and find that fun little magic take and be like, after 12 hours of shooting, Nick, we finally got that perfect 10-second delivery on the line. You're done. And I would just retire from filmmaking. And everyone would be like, when are you going to be whatever Elasti-Boy or Basketball Boy from X-Men? I'd be like, never again. I knocked it out of the park. Nobody wants to see, because there's always nothing sadder when like they try to get you back and the costume's a little different, your hairline's a little shorter. Like it's supposed to be a year later, but you're clearly 15 years older. Forget about it. I'm not doing it.
But Basketball Boy has Guy and Jim. He has one line, and it's your only line in the whole movie.
That's all I want.
He nailed it. He did it.
So if you want to talk about the person that I would love to be in life, if I could wave my magic wand and just be that guy, it would be just like you talked. I don't know if we were on stream or if we were talking about this before. We were talking about Space Jam and that Bill Murray scene where he just gets to come in and he gets to just talk about a camera, and it's perfect. It is perfect. Like when you got like the director of that movie, I guarantee that's all improv. And they just they did a few takes, and Bill Murray did that, and he was like, all you say is, Bill, that was perfect. Do you want another one? And if Bill's like, no, I feel good about that, you go, I feel good about that too. Let's move on, because you just captured cinematic perfection, which doesn't happen a lot.
Speaking of improv, do you listen? So I've been listening to you guys forever, and you guys kind of always dance around. And I've always wondered, do you listen to Comedy Bang Bang? It's a podcast. No,
I do not.
Oh my! I think you'd really enjoy it.
I listen to. I'm down for it. I know the. Why do I feel like that was an HBO or a Comedy Central show for a while?
So it was a show on IFC for a little bit.
IFC, that's what it was. Comedy Bang Bang. I'm Googling it right now.
And it's been on for like, I think 13 years. It started as Comedy Death Ray. It was on the radio in LA. So it's just the host, Scott Aukerman. He brings in different comedians and they play different characters.
Fun.
And it's on every Monday. If anyone out there hasn't listened to Comedy Bang Bang, that's probably like one of my favorite shows. Listen to it every week. But it's super fun, and it's all improv.
I'll definitely listen to it. Yeah, I have a billion podcasts that I subscribe to, and I go back and forth. But right now I'm a big fan of Andrew Santino's podcast, Whiskey Ginger. So I've been listening to that a lot because he does really fun interviews with other comedians. And I love hearing I just love hearing comics interview other comics about how they came up and how they, what they're doing. And it's really cool. As a person who's still just kind of starting out in his stand-up comic career, it's very inspirational to me to hear those guys that have been doing it for like 15 years just say that it never gets better. I'm like, cool, it's good to know. I'll just enjoy the moments of fun in and amongst the heartbreaking moments, and that'll be good. But yeah, Comedy Bang Bang. A lot of people. I'm trying to think if there's a couple other ones that people listen to that they always tell me to listen to. But then there's the other thing when too many people tell me to do something, I'm like, not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. That's too saturated now, Rikki. Do you understand? If everyone likes the thing, then I'm going to be the guy that's like, oh, I just started listening to that thing. And then Adam's going to be like, I was listening to that thing 10 weeks ago, man. Where have you been? And then I don't want to catch up. I don't want to try to catch up on anything.
Yeah. Oh, that thing, we're done with that. We're moving on.
Yeah, we're done. It's too saturated. The thing.
Do you want to talk about the movie?
And talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. We can talk about any movies.
What is your favorite movie of all time?
Oh, wow. Probably the movie that I've watched the most is the 1989 Batman. That might be my all-time favorite movie. And it was a movie that I was obsessed with when I was a child. And I read every time anything, there was a magazine on the shelves. This is pre-internet, obviously. So anytime there was anything about this movie, I was just like, I want to read this. I want to figure it out. It was the first movie I ever knew the director's name for. Up until this point, I had no idea that, I was 9 years old. I was like, movies just happen. There's a void that happens. And then one day I see a preview for it and nothing came before that in my brain. And I remember reading about Tim Burton, and I remember the big hubbubaloo of the casting of Michael Keaton, which I was, even as a 9-year-old child, vehemently against. I was like, you are not casting Mr. Mom as Batman. And mind you, I didn't really have a dog in this fight because I wasn't much of a comics kid. We didn't have cartoon shows and stuff like that were really DC Comics. Like growing up in this void, it was like you had G.I. Joe and Star Wars, and that was it. So like a Batman movie, I was like, this is cool. I don't really know too much about this, but I do know that Michael Keaton's not Batman. And then the other big thing was I was like, Danny Elfman's doing the soundtrack for it. The guy from Oingo Boingo. Like, what is this movie? It's weird, but I liked Tim Burton because I think whatever he had done before that, I want to say it was either Beetlejuice or I think he did Beetlejuice before that, because I think Beetlejuice went into, he was like, I liked working with Keaton, so he cast Keaton as Batman. I was like, I trust this guy, but I don't know about this. And then I remember distinctly watching it in the theaters. I went to the theaters. I think it was over in the Tyler Mall in Riverside used to have those. And it was the first showing I could get tickets for. So I had my mom drive me out there. And I think she just dropped me off. She was like, I want to see a Batman movie. Bought me the ticket, dropped me off. I came out and I was like, I need to see that again, because I can't comprehend how much I liked that. It's something that I wanted it after reading all these magazines and reading all these books and all the newspaper trades and watching all the ET Entertainment Tonight movie things about it. I remember just distinctly being like, I think this thing's going to be amazing. And I from the get-go, I saw it. I walked out of it. Mind you, this is even when like the first print they did, the first few prints in theaters were so dark you couldn't see the last third of the movie. Like right when they get to the belfry, you're like, what? I don't know what's happening. I think Batman's winning, but I'm not quite sure. And then he's fighting like a bunch of dudes up there. And then they get out onto the balcony. You're like, okay, they put a spotlight on him. I can see him now. And subsequently, I think they've gone back and recolored that stuff for the DVD and the Blu-ray releases and stuff. Now you see it, you can see everything. But back in the day, it was like really dark. Anyway, I get out of the movie theater and I'm like, that was the first time I remember thinking, I think this thing's going to be perfect. And it was. And it was so good that I felt that you immediately feel that almost depression of like, there's a void now. I don't know what else could possibly ever be that good. And then it occurs to you, I can just buy another ticket and watch it again. And I remember seeing that movie 3 times in theaters, I think was the total number. To the point my mom was like, I'm not giving you any more money to see this movie. Like, I think she actually made a very strategic decision when it came out on VHS, just buy me a copy of it. Because I was like, I'm going to rent it. She goes, nope, we're gonna buy you this copy because you're going to want to watch this over and over again. So that was one of those. That was the movie that I think I've watched the most. But I have like an all-time like 5 or 6 movies that float around that come in that I think are just some of the greatest movies ever made. We just watched Unforgiven. I mean, I had my wife watch that with me because she had never seen it. It's one of my favorite all-time movies ever made. If you guys haven't watched it, it's really good. I think it's on, I want to say HBO right now, or Showtime.
Was that the first movie you saw like by yourself?
No. I think the first movie I remember seeing by myself was Gremlins 2. I remember my parents were like, we want to go see movies, and they wanted to go see like The Remains of the Day or something weird like that. I don't know if they came out together. Those were probably like 10 years apart. Doesn't matter. They were like, we're going to go see an adult movie. And I was like, I don't care. I want to see Gremlins 2. And they were like, well, we don't want to see that because it looks dumb. And so they bought me a big popcorn and I think I got a king size Reese's peanut butter cup with the soda. And I was like, I'll see you in a couple hours. And it just ended up coinciding that those 2 movies were perfect. And I remember going in and like, I was like, I'm an adult now. I can pick my own seat. And I just sat where the first seat I could find was. And I remember watching it and being like, this is fun. But then I was like, I think that was the first time I ever thought to myself, I don't like seeing movies by myself. And it's very weird. There are two types of people. There are people that, like, my wife could just go to a movie. She's like, I'm fine. I'll go to a movie by myself and enjoy the time alone. I have to be able to do the thing where you're like nudging each other, or like you have that shared experience. Because to me, that's what movies are. And that's why during COVID, it was so hard to realize that you missed that. And then we come out and we watch Fast and Furious 9, and I'm like, this is fun. This is all of us. I can hear people, like my friends, laughing and at the right moments, and we're having this wonderful shared experience with like 200 other strangers. So I remember Gremlins 2. That was one. But I never really saw movies by myself. I always tried to find a friend, and it was the most depressed I've ever been is when I was like, I want to see this movie, but like my friend was like, I can't go, man. I'm like, my mom wants me to do this other thing, and I'm like, what? Tell her no. You don't understand. We're never gonna get a chance to see this again. This is like, well, I'm a dumb kid. I don't understand. That's all gonna come out on VHS.
I always go to the movies by myself.
Yeah,
it is that nice, like, oh, I can kind of do everything at my own pace. I can show up when I want. I can stay as long as I want or whatever. The first movie I saw by myself though was Failure to Launch with
Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, with Matthew McConaughey. So at the time,
is that that's Matthew McConaughey and Goldie Hawn's daughter, right? What's her name?
Oh, I can't think of her name. I can picture her face though.
Yeah, Kate Hudson. It's Kate Hudson, right? Mm-hmm. She's the one that and Kathy Bates is like, we'll pay you to get our son out of the house.
Yeah.
It's just the worst idea for a rom-com ever, to the point where like all of these characters are deplorable. I don't want any part of this. If these were my friends, I would just cut my losses and move cities.
At the end they like lock them in a room together, and they're like, all right, you guys are gonna make it out. You're like, you're gonna figure this out. It's like, that's not how it works.
No, that's not how it works.
Yeah, but we were like, all my friends were going. It was like middle school, and I got the times mixed up. So I showed up to the later showing, and I had to sit by myself. And I'm like, where are all my friends? And it was because there was nobody else. Like, none of them were there because I already saw it.
Right. That is like the worst. That's like my worst nightmare. Is people are like, let's go see this really crappy movie. And I'm like, cool. And I'm the only one that shows up. And I'm like, well, I have this rule where if I go to a mic, if I go to I have these like rules in my brain, right? So I started doing like jujitsu like 5 years ago, and I always said to myself, if I go to the class, I'm gonna roll. If I go to a mic, I'm gonna go up, and if I go to a movie, I have to watch the movie, right? Like, so even if I showed up by myself, I'm like, well, I'm here, and I just like sitting in the seat and eating the popcorn. So I'm like, I'm gonna watch it anyway. But I would never forgive my friends if they left me out to dry with Failure to Launch. I'd be like, you're done. You're not my friends anymore.
Yeah, it was tough. But it really did, like, that kind of opened my eyes to going by myself, and then I started going all the time.
Interesting.
You guys want to talk about the movie that we watched, Waiting for the Punchline?
Sure.
Okay, so
I've seen it.
You've never seen it.
So our first actual segment, instead of just shooting the shit, is Enter the Matrix. Rikki, do you have the graphic, or are we doing that later?
I do not have the graphic.
Okay. Okay, so directed by Matt Hames, released February 22nd, 2019, stars the one and only Nick Scarpino. Runtime of 1 hour and 16 minutes, and exclusive to Rooster Teeth First.
Mm-hmm. You guys can sign up for a free trial of Rooster Teeth First, watch it, and then cancel it.
I had to say that at the end of our last episode to kind of like get the hype going for this one, because I had just gotten charged $100 for Skillshare because I forgot to cancel my subscription.
Hilarious.
So okay, this is great. Now I'm out $100.
Sorry about that.
Adam, what did you think of this movie?
Oh, it's such a great documentary. Well, first off, this movie kind of breaks most of the rules for Now Available, because we here at Now Available are the keeper of a couple things.
Yeah, naturally.
One, The Departed's a good movie.
No. Already wrong.
2, we don't review documentaries.
Okay.
3,
makes sense. Yeah.
Too Fast, Too Furious, good movie.
You guys are hilarious. I love these jokes that you're saying right now. That's great.
The thing is, I have no idea how Rikki feels about Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I'm big fan of Too Fast, Too Furious. That's one of like my comfort food movies that I go to.
I think Too Fast and Too Furious is an incredibly fun movie to watch, and I'm right there with you because Too Fast Too Furious is a comfort movie because it is very low stakes. Nobody cares about that movie. You can just watch it, and it is just what it is. But it's got it's a Fast and Furious movie, but it feels like one of those weird, like almost offshoots, like a Hobbs and Shaw style movie right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has a special place in my heart. I mean, the cast is just like, I mean, it's Ava Mendes, right? You've got Paul Walker, you've got Tyrese, and you've got all of these people that actually Ava Mendes has never come back, has she? Or no, she had a cameo in one of them, right?
Scene, I think, or something.
Yeah, they got to bring her back into the fold, man. I liked her character on that. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I like watching all the Fast and Furious movies. I love one. I think one's still my favorite. It's so bad and so cheesy, and it's so dumb. And somebody thought it was cool. That's what I love about it. Somebody that made that movie was like, this is the coolest fucking thing ever. And when that watch is like, no, it's not. There's nothing cool about Honda Civics racing on the streets with LEDs, stealing DVD/VHS players. But there's something charming about it. And I think that is the strength of that series and Vin Diesel, is that like it's good in spite of itself. It's charming in spite of the fact that all the actors are terrible in it. None of the plots make sense. And the action is just at this point cartoonish with how it's going to go. But it's just, it all kind of comes together and makes something greater than the sum of their parts.
Yeah, that's actually with the Fast and the Furious movies, that's actually something that I didn't really discover till you guys actually, because you like reviewed I think it was the Fury 7 trailer, and I watched that, and then I'm like, I might give these movies a shot, and then I went through watching them, and it just fell in love with them.
Yeah, I mean, because to the casual viewer, and that's why I think it's so fascinating about Fast and Furious is to the casual viewer. If you were to see a trailer for that, you'd be like, this is the dumbest thing ever. Why would I spend any time watching this? It's a bunch of, notably, again, bad actors. Like if you see Vin Diesel, you don't think good acting, right? You think, oh, wow, that's the guy that was in The Pacifier. Okay, cool. Yeah, like I don't need to see that. Even though he's made some of the best series. I mean, I still love Riddick. I think the Riddick series is one of those. I would really prefer him to focus on that, as opposed to like some of these offshoot, Fast and Furious projects that they're going to probably be doing. But he's not a guy that I think about that is synonymous with quality anything. But I can't help but have fun. They're so ridiculous. And I think that like it comes around, like it comes full circle where you go at first, this is dumb and makes no sense and is kind of a waste of my time. But by the end of it, you're like, I needed that. That was actually kind of special. And it did have some heart to it. And I think it has some charisma that you wouldn't necessarily think when you're just watching the trailer. And so I'm not surprised to hear that was your experience with it, because I think that was everyone's experience with it. I mean, that was me when I was like, oh my God, I'm going to go see this stupid movie about cars, Fast and Furious 1. And I remember watching that. I was like, that was fine. And then I think I saw Too Fast, Too Furious in theaters because that's what you did. It was like the only movie out. And it wasn't until Tokyo Drift when I was like, uh-oh, I'm feeling something. I'm feeling something right here, guys. It's called family. It's called a shared cinematic world. And that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. Like once you buy into all of that stuff and you're like, okay, this is the world that we're in, that's when you have the most fun with those.
Right.
Like if you look at it and you're like, oh, that would never happen. Physics don't work like that. That's not how gravity works type shit. Then it doesn't work. But yeah, the second you buy into it and you kind of let it go, that's when you're going to have the fun.
Yeah, it's super cool. I mean, and that's the thing. Like you need something in your life like that, right? I'm a big fan of watching everything and watching everything because everything can have merit and it can have value. Now, of course, there's some movies that are just garbage and just not, you can't get through them because they're barely movies. But there are a lot of like my favorite, I always joke about my 3-fingered scale of like good, bad, and like bad, right? But I love these the most because these are the ones where like it's Saturday. Like for instance, I went away this weekend, and every time I go away, I'll load a bunch of stuff up on our queues. So my wife, if she's like, I'm bored, I'm going to watch something. She doesn't follow movies a lot. And she certainly didn't grow up like us where we watched movies for like a living. And so I queued up Murder at 1600. And she's like, what is this movie? I'm like, stop. Don't even look at the trailer. You're going to love it. It's right up your alley. It's a perfect Sunday afternoon movie. It's Wesley Snipes, Diane Lang, and they got to solve a murder at the White House. It's so stupid. And It's perfect, right? That's what movies should be. Like, they don't all have to be Academy Award-winning movies. They can be just dumb fun, turn your brain off, and just enjoy just the art of movies, not film, movies, right? And those, to me, that's an important distinction to make as well.
But then it went away.
Okay.
Yeah, so going back to the documentary, I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought it was really well done. Just everything about it. I wrote down, as I was watching it, I wrote down a couple questions that I wanted to ask you.
Sure. Shoot them.
Is Tony Sparks the man? Because he seems so fucking cool. Like, throughout the whole thing, he really is just like kind of like talking you through it and talking Jeff through it. And I kind of get the feeling that he does that for everybody. Like, he's just the fucking guy.
Yeah, he's just been around for a really long time, and he's just a really good guy. And he runs mics and he runs shows. And he's just he's a bit older now, and he's slowed down a little bit. And obviously, COVID, a lot of people have been slower to get back in the scene. But I just saw a couple things posted on Facebook where he's going to be hosting some stuff, which is very exciting for me to see. But he's just one of those comics that's been around. He's had a lot of great experiences, and he's just usually a very, very just positive guy to be around. And he's funny as hell, and he's a great host, and he just somehow became the shepherd of open mics and people who are new to the scene. And so when you'd go to Brainwash, which unfortunately we couldn't feature a lot in the documentary because it had closed by the time we started filming, but Brainwash was just this place where like you'd go, and as a new comic, you're like, okay, this is cool. Everyone's kind of on my level, right? It's like 60 people waiting to get on a mic, and it would take you forever, and you'd just eat bacon because you're like, nothing else, everything else here is going to make me sick, so I'll just eat bacon. And Tony would be there just hosting and making sure everything was going well, and he would give you a little bit of feedback on your set, which is always nice because, usually you go up and you bomb, and then you come off feeling super dejected. So if there's a guy there that's like, in charge of it, and he goes, hey man, that was actually pretty, like that one joke you had, there's something there, you should work that. You're like, oh, well, at least that's some direction to go in. And you don't get that a lot, right? You get, as a comic, you get two things. You get people who do the generic good set, which means you had a shitty set, and I just want to say something to get you to stop looking at me after you came off stage because we both know you had a shitty set, and I don't want to talk to you about it. Or you get nothing. That's pretty much it, right? If you absolutely have a great set, there's two good sets. There's a hey man, good set. There's also the good set, like good try. You tried. You got up there and you tried. So anyone that gives you actual pointed feedback that you respect is always pretty good. Of course, there are, there's a litany of comics that it's like their first day and they're like, let me give you a couple notes on your joke. And you're like, here's one note for you. Go into a room, lock yourself in there, don't come out. I don't want to hear what you have to say about anything that I'm doing because that's my ego not able to. Because if you have a good joke for me, if you got a good spin on one of my jokes, it's going to crush my ego. And if you don't, you're just wasting my time. But yeah, Tony's awesome. I haven't seen him in a long time, so we got to catch up. But the community kind of rallies behind him anytime he does anything. It's really cool.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. When I was.
Oh, I was just.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it kind of like the way like Tony's shown in the documentary and stuff like that, and the way it kind of like almost like precipitates into like kind of what you do in like the one scene where it's the older woman who came up and was doing the Bill Cosby 5 Hour Energy bit, and how like afterwards you're giving her like feedback and stuff like that. It's interesting to kind of see how he is the leader, like even just shown through like the way the different people in stand-up comedy in San Francisco act.
And obviously there's a lot of comics in San Francisco, but we were able to find some of those moments that showed you sort of a little variety of what you could get with mics. And that Mutiny Radio mic that you're talking about, where it's like a feedback mic, those are cool. Those can be super positive, and that's fun. And it's cool to see like there are certain mics where even some of the more established comics will go to work their material, and that's one of them, because there's something about knowing that people are listening that helps. And a lot of times in mics, you'll see people like, and I'm guilty of this because I don't want to listen to like my friend's set for the 50th time. Sometimes I'll be writing on my phone, or I'll be just on the internet or whatever. But that specific mic, people pay attention because they want to give you feedback, and it keeps people active. And when you have an active audience, you have an audience that will laugh because they're paying attention. So those are really cool. And it's also kind of fun. It's a challenge for yourself to take someone else's joke and put a different spin on it. It keeps your brain firing as well. And I've had a couple comics where, I'm like, I'm ashamed to say I don't get that joke. And then when I've said that to them, other people are like, yeah, I don't get it either. And like, we didn't want to be rude, but like, we don't understand what that joke is. And then the comic that said the joke was like, well, and they'll start to explain it and they'll realize that there's one or two words in there that they meant to say that they had always not been saying that changes the meaning of the joke. And so you have those moments of revelation where you're like, oh, the reason people aren't laughing at this isn't because it's not funny. It's because it doesn't make any sense. And, you know, because that's the thing I struggle with is like, in a perfect world, if you wanted to start doing comedy, if you wanted to start doing anything performance oriented, right? You should film yourself and you should watch that every single day. And you'll see comics go up with phones. And the reason they're going up with phones is because they're recording their sets in theory to listen back to that if they have a good joke or a good improv or a good spin or tag on another joke they've been doing that people laugh at. They go, what did I say there? And you're not going to remember it when you get off stage. I struggle with that. I can, believe it or not, I cannot stand watching myself back in stuff. I don't like it. The only thing that I've ever really enjoyed seeing myself in and editing were those stupid Doritos commercials that I did. So if it's narrative, I think I can do that. But if it's me performing on stage, I have all these horrible tics and things that I hate about myself. Like I slouch and I'm too short and I don't like that I speak so quickly and I don't make eye contact with people. I can tell the moments where I'm receding back into myself and scared of the audience. And I don't like that because it's a very vulnerable state to be in, but you have to do that stuff. So if you can find moments where other people will do that for you, it's kind of better because I go, okay, cool. I see what, like, I love having my wife come out and watch me because I'll be like, how'd I do? And she'll go, eh. And okay, what did I do wrong? Well, you said, a lot. And you said, you know what I mean a lot. And you didn't make eye contact with the audience, and I feel like you're performing to like one person as opposed to the entire 400 seat, theater. Like, and you're fidgeting and you're walking around and you're pacing back and forth like you're on trial. And I'm like, okay, let's make a list. These are good. Like, let's keep knocking these out. So, but she will only come to so many open mics at dingy clubs before she's like, I'm just going to watch Law and Order SVU and stay home.
It's perfect. You touched on a bunch of other questions that I had, but I'll just kind of condense them.
Go through.
So they showed the Brainwash and they showed that it closed. That place looked sick. Like that looked like such a cool venue. What other has like a lot of the other clubs shut down? And then in part with the crowd thing was like, how does like crowd size affect you, or does it affect you at all? Is it like easier or harder if there's less people there versus like, I don't know, like a full house or something?
Yeah, it depends. So that Brainwash was awesome. A lot of the clubs have opened back up. So Punchline just opened back up. They just did their first Sunday showcase last week, and I couldn't go because I was visiting my mother for her birthday, which was nice. Ooh. I thought that was a good reason to be out of town and miss that. Cobb's is back open, and they started doing headliner shows. That's good. A lot of the bars shift though. So like a lot of those venues that you see in that doc don't exist anymore, or they do exist and they just don't do comedy, because it's only a matter of time before someone runs a mic. Like the second you start running a mic at a venue, the clock starts ticking to the inevitable. Somebody says something that pisses off the bartender who's had a couple too many drinks, or the owner's there and he's pissed off because he's had a couple too many drinks, and he hears a joke that he doesn't agree with and he starts heckling, and then the comic gets the people who are organizing the mic get an email the next day or a text the next day saying you're done. So mics shift around a lot. And like the Maggie's mic, for instance, where you see the end showcase where all of us go up, that is actually my friend Austin's mic. He lost that mic because a comic stole a bottle of alcohol from the venue. And we were like, what the fuck, dude? But these are comics. They're stupid. And there's something about people that think, I'm a comic, I should act outside of what is socially acceptable. And sometimes, as a comic, that is kind of your could be part of your art, is to push the limit and be provocative and do zany things, because that's what people expect when they go to a comedy show. They don't want to listen to someone talk about taxes. They want to listen to someone say something crazy that's going to get an emotional, reaction out of them, hopefully laughter. But then oftentimes comics will go a little too far with it, and they'll, I think a lot of people get anxious, they get anxiety, they get all sorts of things that go along with doing stand-up. And so they treat that in all manner of ways. A lot of it's drugs, a lot of it's alcohol, and then you pair that with the fact that you're supposed to be crazy, and all of a sudden, bada bing, bada boom, we all get kicked out of a bar because someone did something stupid. And they're like, it's hilarious. I'm like, no, it's not hilarious. You just took all my buddy's hard work and crammed it down a toilet because you thought you were going to do something that was funnier would be make you legendary, and now we don't get that mic anymore. Thankfully, now we run a show on a boat that's a pay show, so we can make some money off of it, which is good, because that he wasn't making anything off that mic. But so anyway, that stuff changes. And I forget what part 2 of your question was.
Oh, just like crowd size. Like, how does that affect you, if at all?
Yeah, it definitely does. So there's a bunch of different types of crowds, right? There's like when I've done Cobb's and there's like 200 people in the room, it's a different energy than when you do a smaller venue. Like our boat show, we did a whole weekend for 4th of July weekend. We did 4 shows, and the last show was 60 people all huddled together in the hull of this boat with bathed in red light, and we set sail, and it's just a magical experience because you're just there together, and it's a manageable crowd. But when the laughs come, they come and they hit you hard, and everyone can get in that trance-like state where it's like we're a living organism, and we're all gonna work together to have a great time. And that's kind of the job of the host, is to set that up, and then you've got the comics that keep that ride going, and then it builds to the headliner, who then takes it and crushes, and those people walk away with a very, very good memory. Conversely, there's nothing more terrifying than a group of 50 people who aren't laughing at you, because you can see every single one of them, and people will start doing this shit, and you'll see them go like this. And it's just like, oh, I lost them. They're checking Twitter. This is not good. For audio listeners, I was checking Twitter. I was doing my best pantomime. I will not go back and watch that video to see if it did well. But yeah, but it definitely matters. I personally am at a place where I love performing for about 20 to 50 people. I like to be able to see people. I like the idea of I'm with you, or we're together. I'm talking to you. I'm not performing to you. I'm not talking at you. You're part of this, because because you can't have stand-up comedy without an audience. That's just a one-man play. That's sad. So I like that, and I look for those venues. I'm kind of at that place where the Punchline is kind of perfect for me, as far as like if you want to talk about the perfect environment for comedy. It's like 100 people. I think they can do 200 total with the wings full, and it's tiny, and it's low ceilings, and it's perfect. It's so cool, but those are very few and far between.
Okay, I feel that. Adam, do you have another question?
So I guess my first one would be like, how did the whole documentary like come to be?
I think we started doing podcasts, and I started listening to other people's podcasts, namely like Joe Rogan and all the people that are in his sphere, and they're all comics. And I started thinking to myself that they just have so much fun as comics, and the camaraderie and the stories they tell seem really cool. And I've always wanted to be a performer to a degree, especially since we started Kind of Funny. I love doing podcasts, and I love doing the shows that we do, but you don't get that one-to-one connection with the audience. So I was like, I'm going to make a New Year's resolution. I'm going to say it on camera, and I'm going to say, I want to start doing stand-up comedy. And then the audience, knowing our audience, would go, they inevitably go, hey, did you ever start doing that? So I was like, I'm going to do it. Started writing. February, I did my first open mic, and then I started doing more and just kind of got addicted to it because it was super fun and very challenging. And then I had a conversation with Jeff Ramsey when we were hanging out, and he was like, "You're doing what?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm doing stand-up comedy. It's crazy." And he's like, "What's that like?" Jeff's if you've never spent any time with him or listened to him, he's a really, really smart, very inquisitive guy who's very engaging, and he took an immediate interest. He was like, "Wait, what? Like what? Tell me all about this. Tell me what's going on here." And I was like, "Well, you are coming out to visit us in." I think at this point I had done stand-up for like maybe 6 or 7 months. And what happens a lot is that bookers who book these independent shows will come, and they'll put their hand on your shoulder and like, "You did really good there at that open mic at the Brainwash. Why don't you come out and like do my show at Cobb's?" And you feel super, super good until you realize those are what's called bringer shows. Right. And they go, "Cool. Why don't you bring like 15, 20 people?" And you're like, "Yeah, absolutely." And of course, you're overjoyed because you think you're getting called up to the big leagues. But in reality, they're just using all the new people to make money off of, because of course, all your friends want to come support you the first time you're at Cobb's. They don't want to come the 13th time you're at Cobb's, but they will come to support you the first time you're at Cobb's. I should say 13. I've only been there like 5 times. But yeah. And so Jeff was out doing the morning show with us and doing all of our podcasts and stuff. And I was like, "Hey, I have a show this weekend at Cobb's. If you want to stick around for another day, you can come see it." I think it was like a Thursday night thing. And he happened to be there. I think at the timing worked out. He goes, "Dude, I think he like punted his flight a day. He's like, I'll totally stick around for another day and come see this." and I took him to a mic beforehand. I was like, I'm going to go do a tune-up set. And he goes, dude, let me come with you. That'd be super cool. And I did it. It was hosted by Tony down in like Daly City. We went to this tiny little club, and it was me and like 5 other people. And it was like, they didn't even serve drinks. So you had to like pay for like a Diet Coke, and they like went to Costco and brought you back a Diet Coke. And then we did that. And then I took him to Cobb's, which is the polar opposite. And there was 250 people in the audience. And I came out and I did my just terrible, trashy material that I had developed over 8 months, and got great laughs because all my friends were there. And he was like, holy crap, that was so cool to see you do the jokes at the small shop. And then we workshopped them a little bit and talked about changing them a little bit. And then I did them at Cobb's, and he was like, what a just night and day difference. And it was so cool to see, and he loved the process. And that was when they just had started doing RT docs. And he was like, I think we should do like a doc about this. Like, we should follow you in your progressive career. And I was like, that sounds amazing. I would love to do that. But you guys have real shit to do. Like, so I will not take any offense if this doesn't come to fruition. And Jeff was just like, no, we're going to do this. And then like 6 months later, I got a call, and he was like, hey, I pitched this, the idea, and we're going to do it if you're still cool with it. And then from that point on, it was like a month later, we started shooting.
Awesome. Yeah. It's interesting to hear how integral like Jeff Ramsey was to that. Cause I think he's great in the documentary. He's almost feeling like an audience surrogate, where like through him, you're kind of experiencing like what it's like to start doing comedy and that sort of thing.
And that was the goal too, is like, I obviously was like, I think there was a handful of people that I had gotten to know from the Let's Play family, just by nature of us being same age-ish, same upbringing, same general likes. And just, you know, sometimes you meet people you vibe with. And I think Jeff's a really great guy. We vibed immediately together, just being sort of like the older guys in the room, the curmudgeons, as you will. And then James and Elise, I'll never forget, we were sitting at that first like Let's Play reunion. I don't know if you guys watched that or not, but they got us all in this house in like LA, and we were just sitting by the pool, and I was talking to those cats, and I was like, you know, you guys are really funny, and you're in LA, and you've obviously mastered the fine art of online video. Have you guys thought about doing like comedy? And Elise was like, well, I always wanted to do improv, and you know, she loves SNL, and I think she'd be perfect for that show. Mm-hmm. But I remembered that, and I was like, you know, it'd be really cool is if we got all those guys to come do comedy for the first time. Like, I would love to be the person that shepherds them through that, and like hosts the show for them, or produces the show for them. We ended up having Tony come host it, because the director was like, it'd be cool. I was going to originally host it and introduce everyone and kind of have it be a little bit more less of a show, more of like we're just all hanging out as part of the doc. And Matt, the director, was like, what if Tony hosted it? We should get him, because he became this wonderful side character that everyone vibed with. And that's just how that ended up working. So it was really cool to see them do that. And then every RTX, we do another comedy show where we bring more first-time comics up to do their stuff. And then we actually started seasoning in some comics that were in the area or were there for RTX. That was super cool to be able to do too.
Yeah. So whole showcase, the Let's Play showcase, was that all like in mind before you even did the documentary?
Mm-hmm.
It was.
It was we did some pre-production on it. Matt, the team came out and we met, and we did a couple days of shooting so they could just get the feel for my interviews and things like that. We did Jeff interviews, and the idea was always to get Jeff to go up. And then it became like, how can we capture the anxiety and the nerves of one person going up? And then it was like, what's better than one person? And, you know, obviously from a promotional standpoint, I think this was like a Tim Geddes joint where he was like, what if everyone did it? And then obviously that immediately gets everyone invested in helping to promote the documentary as well, because you did this amazing, cool thing that you always wanted to do your entire life. And guess what? It got filmed on a really nice camera and is edited and beautifully done. And it's part of this really cool project that you get to be a part of. And it's funny because you think everyone, like Jeff's been in videos that get tens of millions of views. James and Elise have as well. Me and Tim have been in videos that get tens of thousands of views. But everyone saw this and was like, this is a really fun, cool thing. It's a cool project. And so it's like, it speaks to the sort of strength of all of the people that were a part of it, is that they like got it and saw value in it, even though it maybe isn't the most viewed thing they've ever been at or the most popular thing, but they're like, it's a cool idea. And I think a lot of people, if you've ever been a comedic performer, have thought about doing stand-up, but you don't, it's hard to motivate to want to go do that. And so I was like, if I can be the motivating factor for people, then that's really kind of that's like a really cool thing that I can do. Like that makes me feel good. That makes me feel like that's an honor for me to be able to get Jeff on stage and use some of my sway in the industry or in my scene to do that. And it worked out.
And that last bit, where you guys all go up and you kind of like pack the place, was it a lot of people that like knew you guys? It had to have been mostly people that knew like Funhouse and Kind of Funny and stuff.
So we did but it's so funny. I got booked. My buddy, who is my friend Andrew, who is a member of I don't know if they're still together because they all kind of moved to LA, but he's a member of this group called Pier 69. His name's Andrew Arolfo. He's actually currently touring or just finished touring with Joe Coy. Super funny. He's done late night and all that stuff. And we were at a mic together and he was like, I don't want to throw you a set. You're going to come out on this Thursday or Tuesday night. And I was like, that's awesome, dude. I'll come do your show. That's super cool. And it was like in the middle of Sketchfest. And then it just so happened to turn out that like every single person could only do it on Tuesday. So he was the only set I've ever canceled on. And I'll never forgive myself for that because I was like, he was like, whatever, dude, it's totally fine. But we ended up having like, we put the word out and everyone promoted it. And we ended up having like 100 and some odd people cram into this bar. And it was the best show that night. It was just so packed, and to the point where other comics heard about it and came over to try to get sets. They were like, what is happening here? And then and I had a little bit of juice that week because people were like, dude, if we book Nick on shows, and I was like, let me stop you right there. This happened because all of us promoted this for, like, my team promoted it for a couple of weeks leading up to it. But like the power of James, Elise, and Jeff is that if they tweet out they're going to be someplace, 100 people will show up, which is amazing. But I'm like, but that's not me. If I tweet out, like I tweet out all about my comedy shows all the time, I get like 5 or 6 people to show up, which I'm infinitely grateful for, because it's always nice that I can put something out and someone goes, oh, that sounds kind of fun and it's cool. They show up and they have a good time. But I think people see followings, and those things can be double-edged swords sometimes, because I got booked a few times because people are like, oh, you have 80,000 Twitter followers. That means 80,000 people are going to want to buy tickets for this. And I'm like, no, that means at some point 80,000 people hit follow because they thought something I said on Twitter was funny, or I got referred to them because they saw me in a podcast with Greg, or they listen to my podcast and they live in freaking Rochester and they're not going to fly across country for this mic that I'm doing, or this small bar show that's not going to happen, right? So like we see this all the time too when we book headliners for some of these boat shows. It's just hard putting butts in seats, and that's why it's so, like, that's the hardest part. Well, it's 50% of the battle is putting butts in seats. The other 50% is programming a good show with good comedy. But like it's tough. But yeah, we were able to very long answer to that question. Everyone promoted the crap out of that, and people came to watch James, Elise, and Jeff do comedy. And I just happened to be sort of like a fun bystander that got to go up that night too.
Yeah, I was always wondering that, like, when you put stuff out, how many people do show up, and like, what does that look like?
When we promote things, like when the All of Kind of Funny promotes something, we obviously, and we were able to make it a big event, people come out and it's super fun. Like we used to do KFL all the time. We did prom. We got hundreds of people out for those things because they became these wonderful like community events where everyone in the city converged, or everyone in our community who was able to converge on wherever we were. And it was great. Like when we did the meet and greet tour, we had a couple hundred people every single time we went anywhere. New York was bonkers. We had like 400 people or something like that on this tiny little bar, to the point where the cops came out and were like, you got to go. You can't. I didn't know New York has this like non-lethal police, like they're like the sidewalk patrol, who are just like, we're just here to give you tickets. And they showed up and they're like, you got to go. You can't be here. So we ended up going to a park instead. So people do show up, but you have to understand also, like, people they have other shit they want to do. They're not gonna just constantly show up to hear me do the same 10-minute jokes and like rework stuff. Although there's a couple people that show up every single time, and it's fun for them to be like, oh, you reworked that joke, or you got a new set, or that we haven't heard this new material before. But to be perfectly candid, I'm not a great comic, so it's not like you're getting the opportunity to see Dave Chappelle at a bar show. It's really, really tough. And I have a lot of respect for people who are making a living at being a stand-up, because it is very, very, very difficult to do. It's hard. And for a lot of writing good material is actually the easiest part of it. The hardest part of it is the networking, the time, the energy it takes to go to shows and try to get up and try to get in front of people who are actually an audience that wants comedy. Because more often than not, you're going up at a bar, someone's like, come do my mic. And it's at a sports bar and nobody knew comedy was happening that night. And you have not seen people more pissed than drunken baseball fans who are like, shut the fuck up. I'm just trying to watch the Giants win. Like, shut up. And I'm like, oh, this is these are my parents to have some issues. And people are like, we don't care. I'm going to throw a beer stein at your fucking head right now. That's how it goes.
Yeah, that's always gotta be super tough. Like, just knowing the audience rough. And then like the grind of it. That's one of the things I picked up from watching the doc was like the grind of doing that and the grind of doing jujitsu at the same time. Like, holy shit, that's a lot of work on top of like your day job.
I didn't make it easy on myself. I also doesn't help that both of those things, jujitsu and comedy, require an inordinate amount of time and energy, and they both happen at the same time. So I always kind of felt like I was letting my friends that were doing one of them, I was letting them down by doing the other one. And like even last night, I went to practice last night, and my head coach that owns the studio was like, "When's the Netflix special happening?" I was like, "Well." I mean, it's years away. That's a goal, of course, but like by that time, who the hell knows? It'll probably just be an Amazon Prime special because I feel like Amazon and Apple are going to win eventually. But I was like, I don't know, man. It's hard because you only have so much time, and everything is like. I feel like everything is like in my life is like. Do you guys play a lot of video games? Do you guys play like RPGs?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you get like you go to and you get the special like thing that's going to let you level up that skill tree, but you have to pick where those go. That's my life. And it's an ever evolving thing where I have to take points away from one to put in the other. So I can't max out all my skills at the same time, right? I can't do 5 days of jiu-jitsu, 5 days of comedy, and then spend 7 days with my wife and also do 12-hour days at Kind of Funny. It doesn't work that way. You just sort of have to have like 5 main priorities, and at any given time you can focus on 3. So there's 2 of them hanging out in the wind. And that was kind of those first few years for me. And I still haven't figured that out, right? I've been doing like 3 or 4 days of jiu-jitsu every week and like 1 day of comedy, which is not good. That's not the way to do it. So I don't know. I guess everything's kind of that's part of the hard part too, is like, how do you make time for your family and your friends? And I'm fortunate that we don't have kids, because that takes up a lot more time, but still trying to figure it all out.
I have one more question about the end of the movie.
Sure.
I don't know if Adam, if you have any other ones. Because we can end on mine.
I mean, okay, we could do that. Actually, so what was it like being the subject of a documentary, or like having the camera follow you around and kind of record you, like what you've been doing for like at that point like 8 or 9 months or longer, doing open mics and that sort of thing?
It was weird. It's very weird, and but I come from like a production background, and I'd shot documentary stuff before, so I kind of understand how that all works. It's fun. I mean, it's fun to be the subject. It's fun to have people take an interest in what you're doing. And so in that regard, that was cool. It was also really cool to get, shed some light on the scene and showcase some people that were working and get them a little screen time to get them that experience as well. Because I think there's a lot of people who were actually fans of Rooster Teeth that are like, holy shit, you're doing a Rooster Teeth doc? I want in. Like my buddy Alan is in it. He's a comic, and he used to work the door at the Punchline. And so he was like, I was like, yeah, I'm doing this documentary. And he's like, wait, are you doing a documentary for like RT Docs? And I was like, oh, you know it? And he's like, oh yeah, dude. He's like, I know all that stuff. He's like, and then he met Jeff and he freaked out. He was like, what is this world? So that was super cool to be able to kind of bring a little bit of that to the Bay Area, because we don't have, it's not LA. In LA, if everyone shoot a documentary about everything. Actually, that's not true. Everyone's on TikTok now. Nobody gives a shit about that stuff. But so that was really fun to be able to do. And then just from a post-production standpoint, it was really rad to see. Like I saw the first cut and I was like, Jesus, this is good. Like this is actually really good. And Matt asked me if I had any notes, and me and my wife went through and we were just like, she watched it with me and she was like, I think you should change this and this. And I gave him like 4 or 5 notes, and he was super receptive. He was like, cool, we'll do that. We'll take care of it. And then it just ended up, then we all watched it at the premiere at RTX. And I was like, damn, that was actually really, really, like I was a part of a cool project. That was cool. And I was able, I was the main subject, but I wasn't the only person there, and everyone came off well. And overall, I guess when you start a documentary, you want to get it, you don't necessarily know what the narrative is going to be, but all I wanted to get across was I just wanted to show people what that process looks like and how it can be really fun, but also super heartbreaking. And I think we accomplished that. It was super cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing I really love about the movie is kind of this idea of everything sort of takes time to accomplish and go through and succeed at, which like really speaks to one of my favorite things you've ever said on a podcast was, I think it was, I want to say it's when you guys were talking about La La Land or some movie, and you're talking about how in real life, or how you felt like at different points in your life that everything should happen like quickly, and but everything takes time because it's not a 90-minute runtime.
Yeah,
there's actual work that has to be done behind things, and everything won't work itself out super quickly, which always spoke to me, because I was like, okay, I just want this to happen, that sort of thing.
Well, you do, right? Because I mean, that's the thing too, is we're sort of trained to realize that anything can be overcome in 90 minutes. Any challenge you have, 90 minutes. That was the 80s, right? And it's true. Like I stand by the fact that I kind of, when I start things like this, because I have this ability to stick with stuff. If I really like it, I'll stick with it. I'll find a way, right? Sometimes I stop doing it for a little bit, but most of the time I pride myself on being a person that just can kind of grind things out. And I think the reason behind that is I kind of make a little bet with myself to see where I'm going to be in 5 years with it. And lo and behold, and literally last night I was having a conversation with the guy. It was like his second day in jiu-jitsu, and I was showing him some stuff, and then we rolled, and I did really well against him. And he was like, holy shit, like how long have you been doing this for? And I had to think, I was like, oh, 4 years. And he goes, wow. And I remember having those conversations with people when I first started, like blue belts when I first started, like, how long have you been doing this? Like, you just seem so unbelievably, this is them, not me. Like they would seem so unbelievably, overwhelmingly good at this thing. And I felt like I was all thumbs. And then I thought to myself, it'll be interesting to see if I can stick with this, what it'll feel like 4 years from now. And it's markedly different. It's not to say like, obviously, like if it's a guy's second or third day and we're just, we're rolling and working technique, that I'm not going to then roll with a purple belt like I did last night, who just utterly destroyed me and made me think like, God, I should quit because I'm horrible at this. But that's just how it goes. It is nice to be able to reflect back on that. And then obviously with comedy, it's the same thing. I look back and I'm like, cool, I'm running shows now, and people know who I am, and they know me not because I'm the guy with the Twitter followers, because I run shows and I want to be a part of this community and earn people's respect. And now I got guys that it's there for, there's a whole host of open micers. I'm like, I don't even know who you are, because I don't go to mics that much anymore, because I just try to show up at shows and get booked in front of real audiences. But yeah, it really is just like, success is just like motivation plus time. If you can motivate yourself to get out there and you have enough time and you give yourself enough time to do it, you will eventually achieve that goal. You will.
Yeah, it's the whole 10,000 hours kind of philosophy.
But everyone thinks I'm going to be the guy that can do it a couple times and get great at this, right? And it's just not how it works. It's just not, and I think people just give up on it too easily. Or it's also hard to see where you're at now versus where you were before. And that's why it's so fun to go back and watch the documentary every once in a while, because I'm like, oh, I think I'm actually better. Like, I do think I'm a better comic than I was back then. I can see it. I can see that my jokes are a little funnier and they're a little smarter, and I'm a little bit better at delivering and engaging with the audience. And you do get better, but it's hard to realize that. And it's hard to realize the merit of that, because like everything else, I think like I lost a lot of weight in my life too. And that was one of the first moments real times where I was like, oh, you have to just let time pass. You have to just stick to a plan, weather the ups and downs, and wait, and just have patience with it. And it will work. It will. But if you want to lose 100 pounds by tomorrow, it's not going to work. It's just you're setting yourself up for failure, which I think a lot of people psychologically like to do, because they go, well, I tried and I failed. And it's like, well, part of the journey, part of success is failing, right? It's, I love all these sayings and adages and things that you learn. But one of the things in the in the jiu-jitsu world is people go, you got to do competitions, because competitions are, you either win or you learn. That's the L word there. You don't lose, you win or you learn, and you're always learning, right? And people, even in that, people film their matches because they can look back and go, oh fuck, this is where I screwed up, or this is what I should have done here, or that you can show it to your coach or one of the other instructors and go, hey, well, can you watch my match and give me feedback? And they'll go, oh, absolutely, dude. Oh, you did this great. Oh, you should. Oh, you rolled for an armbar here or a Kimura here when you should have, maintained top position. And really, it's just cool shit like that. is fun, but you got to let that time go by, you know?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, especially with like weight loss stuff. Like I was a pretty fat kid growing up, and then it wasn't until I was like 21ish where I was like, oh, I need to like work out and do stuff, and I lost like a bunch of weight.
Good for you. Congrats.
No, thank you. But then I gained it all back. That's what's up, though.
Hey, I mean, but honestly, that's what happens, right? Like that,
Yeah,
and that's what. So I think a lot of people go, "I'm just going to do the thing and get the thing, and it's going to be that way forever," because we don't see the sequels to the movies that often, right? You don't see a sequel to La La Land where those two called each other up like 6 months later and banged again. Like that's reality, right? Like reality is like, who knows what happened with those people? We only get that one moment, the perfect moment in time. But we like if it was a real movie, you'd get ups and downs like every other relationship. And there's like. I just watched a movie called This Is 40, which I hadn't seen in a while. And it's not my favorite Apatow movie. I think it's like it suffers from a lot of the trappings of a lot of Judd Apatow movies where it's a little long and kind of meanders. But in this specific instance, I was like, that's kind of the point of this because that's life. Like there's moments where they have these drop down fights with each other. And then the next day they're just fine. Nobody wants to talk about it because that's always happens. Family, right? And I'm like, this is the most realistic depiction of what it means to be married and be 40 that I've ever seen. It's just one moment you're screaming at yourself in a car eating a fucking cupcake, and then you get out and you realize how much you love your family. And that's the ups and downs of it all, right? And it's the same with, you know, with weight. And like I'm at like 190 right now, which I'm not, I don't love being at 190. I like being closer to 180, 175 because that's how I feel I look better. But I'm also just focusing my energy, like I said before, on some other things. And it's just the way it goes. You get everything goes in sort of like ups and downs and cycles. And with weight loss specifically, that it's just you at some point you're going to gain a couple more pounds back. That is part of the process. Don't look at that as failure. Look at that as like, okay, that's part of the process. At some point with comedy, you're going to bomb. That's part of the process. All that means is it's valuable data that you can learn from of that joke didn't work for this audience for some reason. Why? Let's talk about that. Let's figure out if we have to rewrite it or just ditch the joke and write something else. So yeah, I think people get really discouraged, but because it's easy to, but just keep at it. That's all you can do.
Yeah. All right. So my last question was about the ending of the movie. Spoilers if no one watched it. Why didn't you guys watch the movie? But watch it. So you finally get to Punchline and they finally call your name and it's like our hero did it. Like hell yeah, right? And then you go up and it fucking ends and it cuts to the credits. I thought that was awesome. Like I really enjoyed that and I thought it was funny. And then they show you do like one joke. How did the rest of that set go? Was it like good. It was yeah.
It went okay. Like it was definitely it was okay. It was an okay set. I didn't bomb, but I didn't do the way I'd want to do, which, you know, when you go up a Punchline for the first time, you want to be the guy that lights them up. It doesn't happen. You know, it's the same as like you want to be the guy that like gets on the mat the first time and smokes everyone because you're like, I got this. It doesn't happen, right? It's again, it's part of I'd have to go up 10, 15 more times before I really get a feel for like what it means to step up in that pressure environment and do well. And you have to go up everywhere else and grind it out more and more hours, get your act down, get to the point where it's just you've got what it takes and have all those elements kind of come together. That particular set, I did well. I would say I did probably mid-range for the comics that I've seen go over their first time. I got laughs. I didn't bomb, but I certainly was nowhere close to crushing. Like there were definitely comics that did better, but I didn't embarrass myself. And I think we got what we needed for the documentary. But as to whether or not I burned bridges of the Punchline by getting up that night that's a story for another podcast. Because I annoyed the shit out of the manager and the booker of that show to be like, come on, dude, like I'm making a fucking documentary. And they were like, everyone's making a documentary. Joe Blow with the fucking A6400 over there is also making a documentary. I was like, well, no, I have a camera crew here and an audio tech. Like I'm making a documentary. Like that dude who's got the DSLR, who's like, my documentary is coming out next year. It's not coming out. He's probably not going to finish that. These guys have a budget and a deadline. And this is the last time I can do this. Like we went there and tried to get sign off from Live Nation to let us film there. And they were like, we don't have it yet. Sorry. And then we were like, well, I guess we'll just end the documentary with like I did an interview. I was like, I'll get to go up eventually. And then Matt edited it and was like, dude, we got to get you to go up. Can you try one more time? And I was like, I'll try again. Bring me a just give me a camera op. And it was someone that actually wasn't the DP. It was another camera op that just happened to be, they were friends. And she just said she popped by for, as kind of a favor, and was like, I'll hang out for a couple hours and try this. And finally they were like, you can like, the manager was like, I got word back. You can come in. You're good to go. Just sign this document. And they signed off on it. We got the release sign from them. And I think that we paid like a small fee to be able to film inside because, that's what you have to do when you film at like real places. They want you to kind of like have that. And then sure enough, the booker came up and he was like, all right, fine, you can go up. And I was like, fuck yeah. And I was like, I'm forever grateful for you. And that was like the last time he's really ever talked to me. I talked to him one time at a party, but we were both drunk. And I was like, I don't really remember that very well, but he's a good guy. It's just, he unfortunately has to be sort of he's got to be the gatekeeper of something that a lot of people want. That's a tough spot to be in, for sure. But I give him, I'm forever in his debt on that one because he hooked it up. And but I think the other important thing is like a lot of people, I don't like feeling like I'm skipping the line for things. And it just so happened to be like that was like the year of my anniversary for when I first started going to Punchline, which was right around the time that you should start bucking him to go up anyway. So I didn't feel too badly about that, but I'm also just not the kind of person that bugs people. I'm a terrible networker because I'm terrible at getting in people's faces and being like, dude, put me up. I'm awesome. Mostly because I don't believe in myself. And also because I feel like if you are good enough, people should see that and put you up, which is the absolute wrong mentality to have. Yeah. You should work on your art. You should hone your skills, and you should be unabashed about telling people how awesome you are, within reason, like have an understanding of who you are, and then go out there and sell who you are. Don't sell more than who you are, but certainly don't sell yourself short. And I always sell myself short all the time. It drives my wife nuts. She's like, you're funny enough to go up at these places and not have people feel like they wasted their money to see you. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm no Bill Burr. And she's like, I know, because we live in, a small apartment. We don't live in a mansion in LA. And she's like, trust me, I know you're not Bill Burr, but you got something. Go out there and believe in yourself.
That's awesome. Yeah, I had no idea. Like when I was watching it, I was like, they're not going to fucking show it. They're not going to show what happens. Yeah. And sure enough, they didn't. But which was kind of cool because like
that was a choice on their part. Yeah, that was a choice on their part and the edit. We have the full set. I still have it on my computer. But I did the full 7 minutes and I didn't run the light, which is good.
Ooh,
that was a big thing too. I was like, I'm not going to run the fucking light. I'm going to get out. I'm on stage for 7 minutes on the dot, and I think I got pretty close to that, which is cool.
That's awesome. Nice. Adam, do you want to rank this movie?
Yeah. So,
I get 10 out of 10. I'm never doing this podcast again.
Well, so the way we rank movies is very similar to a little show you might know called In Review.
Okay.
But we put a little twist on it.
Okay.
So we rank each movie in 3 different ways. So generally what we'll do is we have this, we'll go through each of the streaming services. We'll go to like Netflix, Hulu, HBO, and Disney Plus, and rotate through them each week. And we have this roulette wheel where, that's besides the point for now. So what we do is each week we rank it 3 different ways. So first is by which streaming service we watched it on. Second is by what year we watched in. And third is we rank it all time. So every movie we've seen on the podcast.
Okay.
So kind of like Ragu Bagu.
Got it. Perfect.
Yeah. So, but for this one, we're going to make a little exception. Generally, we don't watch documentaries. As you know, Departed, good movie. Documentaries, we don't watch them.
Don't watch documentaries.
Too Fast, Furious, good movie.
Good movie. Got it.
Yeah. Forgot what the third one was already.
Yeah. So we started a new ranking. So for Rooster Teeth first, we have no movies ranked yet. Mm-hmm. Nick, where would you like to line up? Waiting for the Punchline.
As far as the movies that you've seen on Rooster Teeth first, I think it's got to go number 1 for sure.
Number 1.
There's number 1 bullets. Yeah, I don't know what else is on there, but I feel strongly about it.
I'd say it's probably my favorite movie on Rooster Teeth. First by far.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I might cancel my subscription and just call it. One and done.
I don't know what else is on Rooster Teeth. I gotta be honest with you guys. I love everyone at RT, but it's difficult to keep up with everything. They don't even do the docs anymore, truth be told. I think they stopped doing them. after this. I think Waiting for the Punchline was, they did mine, and then they did like one about Gus, and they were like, we can't do this anymore, which is really sad because they're really beautifully done documentaries, and Matt and his team did a really good job. And I think it breaks my heart that I don't think that they just don't have the margins, I think. But I really wish that they had done those. And obviously the money has to go to Rooster Teeth. And that was one of the main thought, was that they wanted to push the subscription model, which is obviously in their right. And they make lots of great content anyways. But part of me is always just like, fuck, you make good documentaries. Why don't you just make them and tour them and take them to film festivals and try to get them distribution on Netflix and stuff like that? Because obviously that makes no sense from a money standpoint. You have your own subscription platform. You should absolutely put them behind RT first. But part of me is like, they just like, it's a good product that should be seen by as many people for that platform, you know, and Netflix is a great platform for documentaries, as is HBO, you know. I fucking thought to them, that'd be cool. And then I was like, part of me was like, I want to be on HBO. But alas, number one.
But you brought up an interesting point with the Rooster Teeth docs kind of going away, because there was one documentary I was waiting for from them. It's a little one you might have heard of, called Waiting for the Finger Bang.
Waiting for the Finger Bang. Yeah.
What is that?
You're asking me?
It's, you made the fake trailer for
that's right. Thank you. It just clicked.
KFAF.
Yeah, it just clicked for me. It's been a long time, guys. Some of this stuff has to come back to me. Yeah, I don't expressly recall what we said in that. I do remember. I think we made fun of Tim in that. Did we make fun of Tim in that, or no? I can't.
Sounds
remember.
Like probably something about how Greg sucks, and
yeah, he's the worst. He really is the worst. Yeah, we did some fun stuff on at KFAF. That's another one of those shows that I'm like, we got to bring that bad boy back when we got a few more resources.
Such a fun show.
That show needs to be 10 minutes long. And not serve ads. I think that was on. If I can get real with you guys, like, I love doing that show, but I think the burden of having to do a 45-minute long piece of content every week killed our energy for it. I think that we're doing reacts content, and we're doing more short form content. I think I want to bring back something like KFAF, but just make it a 10-minute long, just a bit, just silliness of me and Andy eating freaking, you know, Japanese Kit Kats and having fun, and have Roger edit it and just put that out as a series. I think that would be super cool. And I think that would bring in a lot of positive energy and subscribers to the channel.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. That's something definitely, because I know, like, for me, once like school, because I have one last semester in college, and once school gets going for me, I'm like trying to keep up with everything, but it's hard for me. But like that shorter form content is nice, because it's like, if you have a couple minutes in between class and stuff like that, you can check it out. So I think
it's one of the reasons why I stopped listening to Rogan. I was just like, dude, you're fucking like, you make like 10 3-hour podcasts a week. I can barely get through one in a month. Like, I need 45-minute long pieces that I don't really have to pay too much attention to. I had like Dr. Rhonda Patrick on it. She's like, my LBL acid, you know, statistics and ratios. I'm like, I don't understand what this is. I just want to hear comics talk about what their favorite club is. I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, bringing back the Photoshop challenge, that would be cool. But I know that there's that other group. What is it? Simply Sassy. They do. Well,
Simply Sassy kept it going, and now we've brought it back. We have brought it back, actually. We did one today where we do it live on the Twitch streams. So now we're using that as an incentive for people to come watch live with that. But I think eventually we'll do all those things as shows, right? We'll do a show we'll do a little piece of content a week called the Photoshop Challenge, where the community makes those things. We'll do a KFAF bit. KFAF to me was always supposed to be like, this is our goofy sort of like playground. And I think just because of the economics of how we make money, it doesn't make a lot of sense for a group as small as us to partition out time to do like, you know, a couple days worth of work to make no money and to not get it sponsored. So it became a 45-minute long show. And me and Andy were like, we're going to do this to the best of our abilities. But then once COVID hit, I was like, we don't have the energy to do this. It's not, and it's, you know, you get to a certain point where, if I can be candid, you put 3 days worth of energy between two people into something, and it gets the same amount of views as an in review. And in review is easier and kind of more fun because it's less work. So why not just do more in reviews? And spoilers, we do 2 in reviews now. And that's just how you make decisions like this, right? You have to go with what your gut goes with. And I know, like, I love doing KFAF. I love doing comedy content. I love doing the shorts for that stuff. But it reminds me a lot of when we used to do IGN Weekly, where we'd bury 4 different shows in one show because we felt we needed to do 45 minutes. Where in reality, what happened with IGN Weekly was the same thing we did inevitably with KFAF, where it broke out into like, it'll break out into different shows that are 5-minute pieces of content because that's what people want. But I still love the idea of doing like originals and stuff like that. It's just once we get back in the studio, maybe we can take some time to do that stuff. But for now, I'm really happy with the slate of content that we have, and I'm enjoying the fact that I get to be a part of almost all of it for the main channel and almost none of it for the video games channel.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So going back to rankings.
Rankings, go for it.
Yeah. So now we have our documentaries we've seen in 2021. Nick, where do you think this movie belongs on that list?
Oh, number 1 for sure.
Number 1?
I think, yeah. So especially since we don't rank documentaries here, I think that's just going to be number 1 with a bullet across the board, right?
Yeah.
It might be number 1 for all time.
Yeah.
So here's my question. Going to the ranking of number 3, what is number 1 on your list right now for the all the movies list?
Do you want me to pull it up, Rikki, now to show them our list?
Oh yeah, if you can show the all-time list, yeah.
Let me see what I can do. I think this is the right document.
Cool. Let me watch the stream here.
Is it the Word document?
It looks like a Word document. Yeah, it says it's in. Yeah, there you go. Number 1 is Tenet. We're not going to get along.
We kind of stacked it when we did this. What'd you do?
Wait, you did something.
Oh, I did something.
Yeah, now it just says body.
Now it says Calibri body.
Okay, can you get it now? Okay, so I have to look at the document then.
Okay, cool. You guys have watched an interesting assortment of movies.
It was
all random.
Yep. Yeah,
I think
all right. So number
pick a couple
1
of
is
these.
number 1 is Tenet. Number 2 is Clue.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3 is Odd Thomas, which I haven't watched yet. That's what's the one with the kid from Star Trek, right?
Yeah, it's really good. The poster doesn't do it any justice whatsoever.
Yeah, I think I watched like the first 5 minutes of it. I don't think I can get into it. Number 4, a banger, a Paul Verhoeven classic, Basic Instinct. Number 5, Haunted Mansion. Labyrinth is number 6. Wonder Woman 1984. Hercules, Scoob, Way Back. Haven't seen Way Back yet. Glad to know it's good. Flubber. Prince of Persia coming in at number 12. Interesting. Above Taxi Driver. Okay. I think you guys are fucking with me now. High Rise below that. White Mile, don't know what that is. Conan the Barbarian 2011. Why would you watch the 2011 version of Conan Barbarian and not the original Arnold Schwarzenegger version?
We didn't get to pick.
You savages.
Yeah, the whole thing is that we do it randomly, so unfortunately we had to suffer through that. Got to see some Ron Perlman though.
Ron Perlman, yeah, everyone's favorite. Mm-hmm. That's another actor that I'm like, you're a comedic actor, bro. Every time he tries to look hard on camera, I'm like, it doesn't work. Anyway, let's see. Mile 22, The Runner, Shoulder Arms, no idea what that is. Catherine Upside Down, no idea. Hills Have Eyes 2, great. Rounding out the list.
Remake.
We're at least better than Hills Have Eyes. I'll put us at number 20.
You're definitely higher.
Okay, where do you want to start the ranking for Waiting for the Punchline? It cannot go above Taxi Driver. I will not rank a documentary about me failing at open mic comedy above what some would believe is the Scorsese classic. Way better than Departed, by the way.
No.
And Tenet. Why is Tenet number 1 on your list? Clue is a much better film than Tenet. We're redoing this list.
Yeah, how did I think it was like the whole thing was, what movie would you want to watch? Like, would you rather watch Waiting for the Punchline or Taxi Driver?
Oh, yeah, probably Waiting for the Punchline. No, Taxi Driver. It's a much better movie. It's a great film. Hard to watch, but a good film.
Yeah, it's hard to watch.
Yeah.
And I think when Tenet came out, that's why we put it up there.
That makes sense. I will never watch Tenet again. It was confusing and it just took way too much focus to watch. I just stand by the fact that Christopher Nolan, like, why do you have to have a compendium for your movies? Like, I don't understand why I have to be on Wikipedia trying to figure out what the hell happened to your movie. This just represents a fundamental failure on your part to get across a simple and clear-cut narrative using some of these more cerebral concepts. I digress. Where do you guys did we rank this thing already?
I think
I would I'd put it at number 1 because I had a great time watching it. I know.
Oh, that's nice.
I really did enjoy it. I thought it was really well done. The ending was great. The whole thing was awesome. All the side characters were great. Tony Sparks is my guy.
He's the guy.
Yeah, I would put it number 1, honestly.
Right, fantastic. Adam, what say you? Are we going to number 1?
I mean, there's no way around it.
Perfect.
How can you not enjoy a good hour 16 minutes of Nick Scarpino doing stand-up comedy? You
Hour
can't beat it.
17, too much. Hour 16,
Yeah.
Perfect.
that's the right amount. That's the
Hour
amount right there.
Hour 15, too little.
Too little. 16, 116. Perfect.
Mhm.
I've always said that. That's, by the way, you guys do know that like 115 is what barely makes a movie, right? Like otherwise, I think you have to hit. I think it's like, what is it? An hour and 15 is feature length. If it's anything below that, you can't enter a feature length documentary. You can't enter it in as a feature length documentary at festivals. Pro movie.
That's
like that.
awesome.
Yeah, I know it. I know because I had a short film that I was submitting to festivals. I know with that, like short films, the max length they said it was like 45 minutes though, which is
Otherwise, it starts getting. Yeah, that's fair. I didn't know that. I think all festivals are different. I'm actually really disappointed because we could have gotten into, and this is no disrespect to Rooster Teeth because obviously it's their project; they can show it wherever they want. But I think we could have gotten into like Sundance potentially.
No.
I'm saying that now that sounds wrong. I think we could have gotten into some of the bigger film festivals, but they always want to be the one that premieres it. And they were like, well, if it's already been screened publicly, that's not the premiere, and we want the premiere. And so we ended up not doing that. But we toured it to a few other film festivals. That was a fun process too.
Mhm.
That was awesome. That was a treat to be able to be a part of that too.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was kind of surprised that it didn't come to anything other than Rooster Teeth. Like for some reason, I thought it was on YouTube, and then you could just watch it.
Yeah, it might. I mean, they might eventually put that on there, but it's the fun of being windowed behind a paywall of a subscription service that a lot of people don't know about is unfortunately it's a great project. I wish that Rooster Teeth is part of the Warner family, which owns HBO Max. I wish that the content would be available there, but they're very smart with how they pick and choose their content. They're not like Netflix now is starting to put podcasts on Netflix. I was like, oh my God, what a terrible idea. Like, talk about watering down your already watered down original content with kind of funny in review. Like, fucking give me a break. Don't do that. Although I've watched a lot of original Netflix movies lately. It is a crapshoot out there, man. Some of them are just dog water. They're just little particles of dog food floating in water that needs to be thrown out. But anyway, yeah, it's gross.
Yes, I think we got a new number 1. I'm good with that list.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Thanks, guys.
And then I think that's it, right? We just go to.
I mean, we need a movie for next week, so we can either spin the wheel, or if Nick wants to give us a suggestion from Netflix, we could do that as well.
Ooh, a suggestion for Netflix. Let me look on Netflix right now. What's on my queue? Hold on, give me 1 second. I assume you guys both want it to be free on Netflix, right? Well, it's Netflix. Never mind. Okay, American Horror Story. What's on my list? Ooh, this will be a fun one for you. Okay, on my list is The Big Lebowski. Have you seen it?
Oh my God, yes.
Let's go.
That's your movie for next week. That'll be fun.
Honestly, kind of guessing that would give us.
What's that?
I was kind of guessing if we asked you for a Netflix pick, it would be The Big Lebowski.
Well, it's either going to be that or on my list right now, I have that and The Game, which if you've never seen The Game, that would be a fun one for you guys to watch too. So feel free to pick between those two.
Okay.
Yes. The Game is Michael Douglas, and it's like a suspense thriller, and it's a very fun movie, a very good movie. Do not read anything about it. Do not watch the trailer for it. If you're going to do that one, just watch it.
Okay.
Cool.
But yeah.
Cool.
I've watched The Big Lebowski probably like 2 weeks ago. I rewatched it.
Don't do that. Go watch The Game tonight.
Watch The Game?
Netflix. Yeah, do that one for me. I think you guys will like that one.
Good.
That'll be fun. It'll be interesting to see how that holds up for you. So I'll listen to that episode.
How old is it? When did it come out?
That's a great question. I want to say let's look on it right now. It came out in. No, get off that. God damn, Netflix always just wants you to play stuff. I'm like, I just want to look at the info on this, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on a sec. It came out in. Jeez Louise, God, stop playing the trailer. 1997.
Okay.
It stars Michael Douglas, Sean Penn, Deborah Kara, Unger, and more. And it's an interesting. I don't want you guys to know anything about it. Don't read stuff about it though, because it's like a psychological thriller kind of thing.
Okay, perfect.
Cool.
All right.
Cool.
Adam,
Cool.
take it away.
Take it away. So this has been Now Available with our special guest Nick Scarpino. Where can the good folks find you at?
You can find me on social media at Nick_Scarpino on Twitter and Instagram. Please follow me on Instagram because every time I post on Instagram, I lose followers. And you can find us if you want to watch any of our amazing podcast content. You can go over to youtube.com/kindoffunny, or if video games are more your thing, you can go to youtube.com/kindoffunnygames to see all of our video games coverage over there. We also stream daily from 11 o'clock till about 2 o'clock on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames. You can see me and some of the boys playing some games, including Warzone. And we played Battlefield 4 today with Bruce Green, and that was super fun.
Ooh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
Now, Rikki,
yeah, sorry. You can find
I was just going to
at
add.
Twitter under at Ritz Khalifa. Sometimes I post stuff, sometimes I don't, and that's just how it is.
Love it.
And you can find me at Howard AK88, as well as Starroom Studios on Instagram and Twitter for any updates on movies, as well as any sort of podcast stuff we've got going on. And then this has been Now Available this week. So Rikki,
thanks for stopping by, Nick. Really appreciate it. Love your work.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you so much for having me anytime.
Thank you for coming.
And let me know what you think about the game. I'm curious to see if that movie holds up.
Oh, definitely. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.